Super Mario Sunshine is one of the most polarizing titles in the beloved Nintendo catalog, but in this video game court, it's innocent until proven guilty.
Court is now in session.
Hey, that's my line! Thanks for messing up my intro, you stupid judge, you! Anyway, happy holidays everyone! I hope you're all having a joyous celebration, and I appreciate that you've chosen to spend some of it with me, so let's keep the mood light and festive with an oddball request that breaks from the normal code of conduct. Longtime viewers are used to me bringing Mighty No. 9 and other comparably notorious offenders to trial, but this episode offers a stark contrast by not only being a first-party Nintendo title, but one that was widely praised upon its release. I was understandably hesitant about giving this unusual suspect the IUPG treatment, but I later learned that a portion of the fandom now considers it to be the black sheep of the franchise, so I knew that I had to get down to business and determine once and for all if Super Mario Sunshine deserves its negative reputation. Released on August 25th, 2002, Super Mario Sunshine ushered the Big N's mustache mascot into the 6th console generation with a fresh take on a familiar formula. The story sends the residents of the Mushroom Kingdom on a long overdue vacation to the beautiful Isle Delfino, but their rest and relaxation is immediately cut short as they discover that their peaceful destination has been polluted with a toxic, goopy substance. The perpetrator of the crime bears a striking resemblance to the plumber, which results in him being tossed in the slammer and sentenced with the task of cleaning up the island. In order to fulfill this duty, Mario was assigned a Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dousing Device, or FLUDD for short. The FLUDD projects a steady stream of water that dispels even the toughest of messes, but it also boosts our hero's already advanced platforming skills by allowing him to float in the air, blast off to previously unreachable heights, and break through barriers via the hover, rocket, and turbo attachments respectively. The FLUDD controls are tight and touch sensitive, meaning that Mario will either spray while free roaming around each area or stand his ground and aim for specific targets depending on how much pressure is applied to the R button. The FLUDD is essentially Sunshine's answer to Luigi's Mansion's vacuum, and its sentient consciousness chimes in with helpful hints for traversing the 7 hub worlds in the pursuit of clearing the protagonist's name and rejuvenating the Shine Gate. The Shine Gate is Isle Delfino's central tourist attraction and the main source of its radiant energy, but the recent vandalism outbreak has dulled its legendary luster. To reverse this reckless defacement, Mario has to collect Shine Sprites, of which there are 120 in total, but only around 60 are required in order to unlock the final chapter. The Shine Sprites can be obtained in a number of different ways. Some of them are located in hidden nooks, while others can be purchased for 10 blue coins each in the shop adjacent to the Rico Harbor entrance, but the majority are gathered by following the path of the plot. The first Shine Sprite is rewarded after defeating the monster blocking the plane, and the next batch are picked up in the first hub world, but Shadow Mario, aka the true disaster artist mucking up the island, steps in to grind our hero's efforts to a screeching halt by nabbing Princess Peach. What follows is the first of many chase sequences where Mario's artistically inclined archenemy has to be repeatedly sprayed down until he gives in to the combined force of the plumber and his FLUDD unit. These segments can be quite tricky, especially when the multi-tiered terrain provides a mysterious figure with plenty of hiding spots, but the audio department clues players in on whether or not they're on the right track. An updated up-tempo rendition of the classic underground theme will play when Shadow Mario is in the vicinity, and the volume will gradually increase as his presence draws nearer, so be sure to pay careful attention to the music if the fiend eludes you. Shadow Mario is a persistent thorn in our side throughout the course of Sunshine, and his enchanted paintbrush conjures up a bevy of bosses to battle, including Gooper Blooper, Petey Piranha, and a rampaging Wiggler. The bosses deviate slightly from their 3D predecessors, with attack patterns that require a mix of FLUDD blasts and ground pounds to combat, but the majority are still beaten after receiving 3 hits. Interspersed between the bosses are a series of challenges and sticky situations that put the plumber through his paces. There are the red coin missions reminiscent of Mario 64, as well as the Il Piantissimo timed flagpole races, but the bulk of the adventure has the iconic Nintendo mascot performing community service for the crimes he didn't commit. He restores and exorcises the hotel, ensures that the majestic sandbird is born, and gives a bath to some hot-headed chain chomps, to name but a few of the seemingly never-ending amount of chores that Mario has to complete during his stint on Isle Delfino. Needless to say, the Flood adds a whole new dimension to the tried-and-true platforming formula, and it's the primary element that sets Sunshine apart from the rest of the entries in the franchise, which is why it's shocking when Shadow Mario leaps out of nowhere and steals it from our hero's body, leaving us with nothing but our wits and quick reflexes to make it through the so-called secret stages, aka the bane of my recording sessions. The secret levels start off innocently enough in the regular Delfino territory, but lurking somewhere amidst the familiar scenery is a hidden cave or passageway, and entering it causes all hell to break loose. What would normally be a breeze with the Flood is now an arduous gauntlet requiring the player to bring their A-game or get lost in the abyss. I applaud Nintendo for coming up with such a clever diversion, and I appreciated the difficulty spike to an extent, but I believe it could have been implemented better. Sunshine is based around the Flood mechanic, and utilizing it becomes second nature to us as we delve deeper into the shores of Delfino, so it's extremely jarring when the developers suddenly yank it from our inventory and force us to proceed for a string of stages that tip into the Dark Souls portion of the brutality meter. This was exacerbated even more by one of Sunshine's biggest flaws, the camera controls. The camera is manually controlled by the C stick, and placing it in the proper position should be simple and intuitive in theory, but the reality is sadly the opposite. The camera easily gets caught in awkward angles, and I lost count of the number of times I died due to this. While far from the worst camera controls in a 3D platformer, Sunshines are disappointingly mediocre for a first-party Nintendo title, and it really put a damper on the overall experience. In spite of the overwhelming odds, I managed to progress past the aggravating hurdles and continue onward with the story, and I discovered a few unexpected twists and turns in the process. After his original failed attempt, Shadow Mario actually succeeds in capturing the princess, and the Vile Vandal unleashes a hulking Mecha Bowser when the fearless protagonist trails him to the local amusement park. Upon its defeat, the true identity of the culprit is finally revealed, and it's none other than Bowser Jr. The young son of the Koopa King is under the impression that Peach is his mother, and he was freeing her from the imprisonment of the man whom his father labeled as bad, so he decided to impersonate him with the help of his magical paintbrush in order to get him permanently locked behind bars. The cutscenes that deliver this exposition are entertaining to watch, and the voice cast did a great job of setting the appropriate vibe, with Charles Martinet reprising the role of providing the various noises uttered by the titular character during the course of gameplay. The remainder of Sunshine's presentation is equally impressive, with rich, detailed environments, a vibrant color palette, and a fantastic soundtrack from longtime composer Koji Kondo, so it's a shame that there are so many problems that bog down what should have been another Nintendo masterpiece. Iwata-san, Miyamoto, and the rest of the team came up with a lot of really inventive concepts, but as with the aforementioned secret levels, they were implemented in such a flawed manner. There are a number of puzzles that are meant to be creative, but they just end up coming off as annoying, and there's even a whole hub world that can't be accessed unless you know to switch to the first-person view and look up. The timed blooper surfing chase for the red coins suffers from handling issues that make it about as fun as trying to tame a wild bull, and the hotel pool section was so convoluted that I had to defer to a guide to figure out where to go. The conclusion at Corona Mountain itself is the perfect encapsulation of everything wrong with Sunshine, as this literal trial by fire has the beloved mascot surrounded by a sea of hot lava, and one mistake can result in an instant fiery death. The Flood gets a workout like it never has before, and the player has to use nearly every nozzle at their disposal to survive this blistering inferno, with the boat ride being one of the most awkwardly aggravating things I've ever encountered in a video game. The subsequent fight with Bowser, while admittedly pretty cool from a design perspective, was underwhelming after the stressful travail that led up to it, and the ending, minus the really cute and funny exchange between the Bowsers, was largely lackluster. After having such a terrible time with No Man's Sky, I figured that Super Mario Sunshine would be a refreshing treat and a great way to close out 2017, but that really wasn't the case at all. Sunshine, in many ways, turned out to be as tedious as No Man's Sky, but in a different manner. While Sunshine has structure and a definitive endpoint, the individual objectives aren't always stated as clearly as they should be, and I had to frequently consult a guide after wandering around for minutes on end wondering where the hell to go and what the hell to do. The design choices are often ingenious, and I admire the Sunshine crew for their creativity, but those moments of inspiration are outweighed by their ideas that got out of hand, and it's no wonder that the titles that followed would opt for a more straightforward and refined style that I find to be more pleasing. Super Mario Sunshine is not a complete failure by anyone's definition of the word, and there are a lot of things that I like about it, but it has serious issues that erode the fun factor for me, and I strongly disagree with the unanimously positive critical consensus, which is why I rule that the verdict is guilty.
Excellent! You've done well, my son. Let the hate flow through you and use it to crush that cursed plumber.
What? Who are you and what are you talking about? I don't hate this game.
Oh, really? You sure sounded pretty negative for someone who doesn't hate it.
My personal take on Sunshine was largely negative, but I don't hate it. The plot was engaging, the setting was interesting, and the flood mechanic was awesome, though I wish it had been included in a better game.
A better game, huh? Does that mean you think this is worse than Sonic 06? You gave that and Rise of Lyric innocent verdicts, and those are both inarguably worse than Sunshine.
That's a tough question to answer. 06 and Rise of Lyric are technically worse games in that they have way more bugs and glitches than Sunshine, so I'll easily concede that. As far as the gameplay itself goes, I do indeed prefer those Sonic titles. Rise of Lyric is a short novelty cartoon tie-in that's over long before it wears out its welcome, and 06 offers much more variety than Sunshine with its 3 playable characters and superior story, not to mention some seriously rockin' tunes.
I see. So, in other words, you're a crazy Sonic fanboy!
No, I'm not. I love Mario and Sonic. In fact, I got a Switch recently and I'm having a blast playing through Odyssey and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, so you couldn't be more wrong.
Uh-huh. Well, if that truly is the case, then why are you wearing that hat?
My hat? It's Christmas, silly, so I'm of course wearing a Santa hat. What the? Great googly moogly! I really am a Sonic fanboy! Oh my God! Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, the boxes on the screen right now will lead to some more of my videos, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my avatar in the bottom right hand corner. Thanks again.